G'day, doggies, fans, all things Bulldogs. It's the live preview. Just doing this because I got asked by a couple of people if I was going to do it. So, not expecting to get a lot of people on at this time of day. People coming home, but if you want to listen on and hear my dulcet tones, please do. So, just going to go through, what I think we've got to do to get tonight's victory. We could sum it up very simply, or we can talk a little bit about it at length. G'day, Tony. Welcome. Thanks for being a member. Oh, g'day, Brian. So we're going to talk about if Sitili's coming in and who's going to be dropped if that's the case. I'm not into talking about who we should drop and who we shouldn't play and what we should do. It's all about what the coach picks the team, and I'll just be talking about what I think needs to happen on the field in order for us to achieve our ultimate goals. We'll have a go tonight. G'day, Damo. Welcome. Yeah, there's a big chance Curran will drop out, but we don't know. And if he does play, I hope that he has an absolute blinder. We've got to stop writing people off and build them up. G'day, Jay Pizzle. Welcome. Good to see you all. So I'll just shrink me a little bit, and I'll have this side that was named yesterday with Marcello Montoya coming into the team. So we've got Connor Tracy. It's the same side as last week, but Marcello comes in for Enari Tuala. We would expect that we will see Xavier Coates and Jacob Kiraz, which could be a state of origin clash in the making as well, opposing each other. So this will be good for Jacob on many fronts, and he'll have something to prove. Xavier is proving to be, with every year he gets better. Obviously had a lot of injuries to overcome, does a lot of work, but very good in the air, obviously. So we'll see how he goes. Yeah, you like Curran, Brian. Marcello finally recovered from his circumcision. Yeah, that was funny. His missus cracking me up about that. Keen for this match. Let's hope we get the chocolates. So, look, guys, it's I feel the Storm have actually played better since Hughes has come out. And the reason I say that is they've just got... You find teams can get very reliant on their creativity and get a lot of confidence. And while they're a more dangerous side for sure with Jerome Hughes in the team, I find their 80-minute performances have been there. They've been tested. They've had some things go wrong in the last few games, and they've managed to win them all. And that's against good opposition as well. I expect that they play a bit more structured. It was good to see Jonah Pezet got a fair bit of minutes last week and played well. He's got probably the best kicking game out of all the players they've got in their halves at the moment. He's probably got a superior kicking game to Jerome Hughes, to be honest. So Munster will come back in there. He's very experienced with his kicking game. Tyrone was laying them on where they needed to go for the tries they got from kicks last week against the Panthers. So it's we've got Reg Kirkby here. Hello from Thailand. I'll be at the sports bar watching the Bulldogs live here. I think the Bulldogs might click today. Welcome, Reg. Make sure you like and subscribe. Join the channel if you want. Thanks, Brian. Look, I think by Friday, before the game, you're a bit like one of my mates. You get very positive about the Dogs and very happy. And then if we win, you're okay. If we lose, you then become very, very destructive. But guess what? You're like most Dogs fans, to be honest, Brian. Really. But there are a lot, I shouldn't say much. There are many fans that get very upset like you do. Damo, Melbourne always start peaking around this time of year. Bellamy knows how to time their run. Well, he's learned he's had to, because through that Penrith period, especially they had some peak performances. I think actually going back to when the Roosters won a couple of years before Melbourne actually won that 2020 title during the COVID year, they were just smashing sides all through the season. Absolutely just running riot. But when it come to this time of year, they had some, they got found out a couple of times. And I sort of watched them this year a bit as well. They've gone in and out. To be honest, I think the level of stuff thrown at the Bulldogs compared to the Storm and the Raiders at different points has been absolutely out of sync. But I suppose it's all those headlines and stuff, and they're easier for the media to deal with, just to, go with that loser bias and do that sort of stuff. But where this game's going to be won, oh, thank you, brother. Thank you. Look, I think Sitili's coming in. It's hard to say, For me, you've got to keep Reed Mahoney as insurance. Look, the Dogs have tried to build fitness and build a game around playing for 80 minutes, which is a very state of origin sort of mindset under Phil Gould, and it hasn't really changed much. They know that the game is allowed to run, and they know that the play the ball usually isn't managed as tightly by the refs over 80 minutes when we get into these big games. So you see the average play the ball speed start to creep up towards origin levels during the big games of the season. And the tempo that a ref sets is so influential on a game. And if you haven't worked that out and you haven't seen that, you're probably, when you start to see that stuff, it can bring some other stuff in, like corruption and all that sort of stuff. But and tempo isn't always by a ref, isn't always dictated by the ref completely. Like, things happen and they makes them do that, but things they get told what to focus on, certain biases they have against certain players, it all affects it, and these things come into it. So matching up against the Melbourne Storm with Adam G, I do worry a little bit in the fact that he has gone from a ref that was getting really good at letting things flow and just, letting the players decide the outcome, to a situation where he is now blowing the pea out of the whistle. You know what I mean? So that's something that we've got to look at. But at the end of the day, we have to adapt, as with the Storm. Now, what I expect from these guys today, Montoya, I always worry about players coming back fresh after injuries and stuff. They take a week or two. Watching Montoya in the trial at the start of the year, obviously he's done a lot more work and a lot more reps and that sort of stuff. But he's just come back from 6 weeks. They've got to throw him in now because they want him to be peaking by finals. And that's what it's all about, having everyone ready to go in 3 weeks' time. Now, I'm expecting a mistake. Like, I expected a Connor Tracy error last week. I just was hoping it wasn't going to be in the situation it was. These things happen. Your concentration gets affected when, your energy levels and your fatigue and all that. Might sound like excuses to people, but it's what happens. It happens to all teams when they come back. Harry Grant, Origin 1. He'd only had one game back after a fair injury off. He just wasn't he was fatigued, and it affected his performance. Every game since then, he's got better and better and better and better. So, people write you off when you have a bad game with injury or whatever, but once you get your fitness back, it's at their peril. And he's put egg on everyone's face. So, look, we've got to give allowances for that. I know so we could see Mars, not get to a ball or whatever it happens, but I'm sure that's not going to be the intention. But if it does happen, just keep that in mind. He'll be better next time. Kiraz, and look, our right edge defence has been, well, look, 15 out of 19 right edge defences concede more points than the left. You know, I started looking at this earlier in the year. It's a stat I never really focused on much. I'm more focused on how many tries getting scored from forwards and stuff, one off the ruck through the middle, because that can tell a story as well. But the left and the right, teams generally flow left and are more attacking, are better on that left-hand side. But we've actually got more points on our right edge, which is a bit of a concern to me. So we're getting more points on the right. We seemingly have just as many or more weapons on the left. We go left more often. So our strike rate on the left is a lot less than our strike rate on the right. But it's only a split hair between them. But usually you've got like a probably at least a 10% shift in share value. So like normally you'd be 50, probably 45% on your left-hand side. You'd be 35 on your right. And then you'd be 20 in the middle or something like that, or 10 to 15 in the middle part of the field. So, look, 13 out of 17 sides score more on their left than their right, and 15 out of 17 concede more on their right than their left. So the game's pretty one-dimensional for most sides. Melbourne fit the normal narrative, but they score. They've got a good cross-section across the park. We do as well. But we've done better on the right than the left. So for that, for me, there's a huge opportunity again on our left edge, and the Melbourne Storm right edge. Like they talk about it like it's a stat that polarizes everything else. Like they talked about it last week. Oh, the Storm, it's been their weak link on their right edge. It's pretty much every team's weak link. Okay. It's just the way it is. It's the way the game's played. Sorry to make it sound like that, but that's what the stats have been telling us for years. And I sort of stay out of that stuff a lot, but I just thought I'd talk about it because, yeah, our opportunities are on the left. We smashed them on the left edge last year, Bronson Cherry and the Fox. Now, I probably feel a little bit better if I had someone as fast as the Fox and experienced as the Fox on the left edge outside of Cherry this week, but it'll be Montoya we're expecting. I just want to see Burton and Kikau running and just that support play, run first, open things up, dominate that possession, get our line speed up there, reduce their meters to like 30, 35 meters a set from where they're getting the ball, crunch Xavier Coates as many times as possible, compete a couple of times with him as well, just to show you we're not going to let you just run over us today. We're actually going to compete. We're going to actually do a few things different. We normally compete on our right edge more with kicks. It's something we haven't done too much of kicking it to their right edge. So we normally kick to Xavier Coates on that right edge. I want to see us start kicking to Grant Anderson on the other side, and have Marcello and Cherry and Kikau putting a lot of pressure on them. Alisi Katoa, obviously, and Kikau, that's going to be a big deal on this game. And I'll be really looking forward to Viliami Kikau having another strong game of rugby league. He goes toe-to-toe and makes it an equal contest with Alisi. That's great. If he can win the battle, even better. They'll be, they're not scared of each other. They'll be going hard. So, look, g'day Ta'i, kia ora, brother. Solomona has been dropped. Who's Solomona? G'day, Abraha. Serrato looks confident in the interview. Let's see what happens. Will Sitili play? Tiam says. I think he will, mate. I don't think they're just going to run him around as 18th man or 19th man. But they might have just had him there for Ducks and Drakes. Look, and as I said, people, their comprehension on what they heard from the coach and then the reports from the media of what the coach said in the press conference last week, he never said he was going to make mass changes. All that's happened, all he said was, nah, next time I'm not like if you don't train, if you can't train due to for whatever reason, you can't train properly, you're out. Which was going to get the response, and I'm sure he got the response. He was always going to tell us he's got the response. I'm sure he got it. Number 2, Sitili and Marcello are coming in as part of our best 17 anyway. So no one's really been dropped. Okay? They've just gone back to their spot in the position. All we would say is that, if he's worried about going the distance, Sam Hughes might make way. Or King, if there's something wrong with Kingy, he might drop out, right? If he's worried about going the distance, he might keep Curran and bring Sitili in and have that mobility there. They're not they don't buy into this big forward bullshit, and neither should we. I know I used to say it all the time, and then I try, instead of just sitting there and saying I know more than the coach, it's like, why are they doing it? Why are they doing this? Then you listen to people, you talk to a couple of people from around there and get some sort of education on it and understand, like, look, I get it. When all things are equal, if you got someone who's mobile, can play long minutes, and they're big as well, they're going to be harder to handle than someone who's smaller. I get it. I understand that. But the amount of blokes in the NRL that are capable of that are limited. They're almost as limited as bloody halfbacks. Yeah, you got Huss, you got Carrigan, probably got Tino. Who else have you got? Nafahu White went pretty well, but he was running downhill. They had all the ball and all the possession after 15 minutes. He was just running downhill, so they kept him out there. Get some of that residual fitness. Who else is there? Who else is there? There's not too many. There's not too many of those big blokes that keep going. Obviously, the Cronulla bloke that they got, he goes well, goes long. But they've had a couple of good performances. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And Leo Thompson's one. So we get one of those guys. And we're trying to develop those guys as well. So it depends what he's going to do. If he's happy with Hughes' fitness, the way it's come on, he's happy with the rotation. It's just like, okay, Sitili comes in, either a Hayes or a Curran drops out. Now, if he goes, okay, we're actually changing things up a little bit. We're changing things up a little bit. We're just going to play Bailey. We're going to sink or swim on this. Reed's going to drop out, and we're going to carry an extra rotation through the middle and probably play them a little bit less minutes. But also have Kurt and James in there to back up and play hooker if we need it. There's all sorts of things they could do. They can even drop Reed and then start Kurt in at number 9. I don't think they will, but they can do that to take the heat out of the game and then let Bailey come on. Like, there's lots of things that they can do, but I don't think that's going to happen. They're going to stick to the process. It'll be a simple case of making a decision. Do we need to have one less of our big blokes to bring Sitili in, or do we just swap out a like for like in Harry Hayes or Josh Curran? So that's what they're the 3 decisions, and whatever they do, I'm happy with it. Let's have a quick look at this. We're not going too long today, guys. I reckon we're out of here by 4:30, but I've said that plenty of times. But got to go walk my dog, and get a bit of exercise, walk with the missus and the daughter, try and see the sunset, and whatever else. How will Serrato adjust with all the traffic Storm will run at Galvin? Well, they can't really, and they've already been doing that, Damo. So if you go and watch these games, I've said it before Galvin even played. He's not as physical. Like, he's about 10, 12 kilos underweight. And I've heard that from inside, right? That's come from a player, secondhand, and also someone else around the joint. Mitch Woods makes him look like a bloody... Like Mitch has been playing NRL for 7 years. Their bodies with their shirts off are quite different. So he's got to develop that contact and physicality. So he reads the play really well for the majority of the time under fatigue. He'll have a misread here and there. He'll get turned in, turned out, whatever it is. But he reads it well, and he holds on and clings on. And that's one of the big parts. You know, you watch a player like Jacob Preston, he's developed from that sort of string bean body into this really effective, you know, at his maximum weight, really muscly, but not heavy, and just able to use the power in his legs and his leverage to really, and his shoulder to get in there, hit him hard, and dominate him. Like, just clings on. And I see that with Gavin. He does the cling on thing, but he just isn't able to stop the post contact. And that's already going to have Preston, you know, keeping an eye on that. That's already got Critter keeping an eye on it on the other side, and vice versa. So these are things that we have to deal with, but you always got to deal with them. You know, you see South last night, they got that little 12-year-old running around in their side at number 6. Well, you know, he's putting in the shoulder on that, but he's not really effective. So they won 40-0 doing that. Okay. Now Dragons up a long time. They're finally out of contention, losing last week. Been in close games for about 8 or 9 weeks. So, you know, I was expecting them to probably lose last night. Not by 40-0 though, I can tell you that much. So yeah, there's a lot to look at, mate. How are we going to stop? You can't really stop them. Is the point? They just got to get up there, get his body behind, and make sure that he's doing the job. And that's exactly what's going to happen. I might put the team. Oh no, I haven't got the Melbourne Storm team there yet. So what are we up to? I'll go through your messages quickly, and then I'll be more of a tell. So we've got, what's the go of Nelson? Isn't he supposed to be a top prop, but has been New South Wales Cup? He would be looking to have a big game against Dogs to keep his first grade spot. I think he's on the way out, mate, and he's just another one of these big blokes that he's so big he can't, you know, the game's changed. And I keep telling everyone, Melbourne pack they've got big edge back rowers that are fit and play long minutes, 80 minutes, like us. They've got hardworking props. They've got a couple of big young fellas coming off the bench that are trying to develop their minutes. And they've got some really hard workers like your McDonald's and your bloody Lieros and that sort of stuff. So Alex Chan will be running at, you'd expect it would be running hard at Lachlan Galvin, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I think it's Elise up against Kickout. But honestly, my brain's just gone to nut, like brain fog's bad. And Nelson will be looking to have a big game, and he'll be dangerous. He's always dangerous, and he's determined. And how do you negate that? You've line speed and connection and hit him hard. But teams are very smart as well, and especially the Storm spine. Like, I've seen them use him and have him come on and not even get a hit up in attack. But the opposition think he's coming, you know what I mean? So they're in two minds. And our coach understands that. He does that sort of plays. I see those plays for all grades. So we'll see what happens with that. G'day, Giuseppe. Welcome. Valerio, isn't it? Ciro's typically played with 2 lighter players on the bench and 2 forwards. It's a question of whether Curran or Hayes has done enough to keep their spot. That's it, brother. And that's what I was saying. That's basically the precedent. So you've got your eyes open. You understand the pattern. And this is what I'm trying to get from what I do here is understand the pattern so you're not outraged. And then understand why they stick to the pattern. And then when they divert from the pattern, there's usually a good reason for it. Hence the Cowboys game. You know, they dropped Galvin, brought Moran in, and played that extra forward because they were worried about, you know, the humidity and the heat and fatigue and all that sort of stuff. But there's other options. Are they going to look to go past Marnie, or are they going to keep him there as that insurance? because to me, he just plays a 13 like Turpin would, like Hayward would, like Mann or anyone else. Like, he can do it, but because he's the best hooker in the team, when he comes on, they put him into hooker, and Bailey moves, and that tells you why we're doing what we're doing, because we have to. It's out of necessity. It's not, let's win this comp and let's play the rest of these games. And, for an extra 5% in these areas, that costs us a big time next year. I think they will cover that. Bailey will get better and better and better. And by the finals time, Appy Coruscant won a grand final in, was it his first game? Or his first run-on game? So, Hayes has Curran 50-50. I think Reed or Salmon should come out for Sitili. Yeah, well, that's not going to happen because Kurt Mann needs to have Salmon there as part of that rotation. We're not going to, unless the only reason Salmon would come out is if he's ill. And the only reason Reed comes out is if they move in a new direction with the way they do it. That's why I don't bother saying what they should do. Because what they should do is back themselves, and the coach should do what the coach thinks he should do in every single situation. And that's why we've won 15 games, because of the coach and the players' belief in the coach and the system and everything that they've done. So rather than this, and I've done it too. I used to do it all the time. I do it with the New South Wales Origin team. They should pick this player. They should pick that player. And a lot of that comes back down to the coach and who they've surrounded their selectors around, And usually I'll say, well, that whole thing has failed. And it's failed for 2 or 3 years or 8 years in a row at one point. But as far as the Bulldogs go, it's a long season. And sometimes you just don't know for a couple of years. But stability to me is much more important, and you can always build. Keep building. Keep growing. Honestly, I think Critter needs to be a fullback. He can really play a role like Latrell or Turbo, even though he's injured or injury liable. I still think he can improve our attack the more ball he gets. Yeah, I think that's good too, but I like it the way it is at the moment, where he comes in and out. And as I said, it stops reliance. You see how reliant those teams are on Latrell Mitchell, on Turbo. Like, Turbo's been a passenger for quite a while now, but he still influenced a couple of games really well, as does Latrell. But they don't do it consistently, and they can't because of all the injuries they've had. So and their teams struggle without him. Same with Kalen Ponga. They're all fullbacks. That's their common denominator. What are the fullbacks which are less noticeable when they're not there? The workmen, the hard workers, right? And it's funny. Tedesco stops playing Origin. He goes up another level. Why? Because he's just got less pressure. He gets to use that experience. He gets to prepare properly for what he's doing in his role. And he's probably less involved in a lot of the attack. He's still there a lot, don't get me wrong, but he used to take it on himself all the time to have to change things, whereas Dylan Edwards doesn't do that. He has a game where people don't expect it. He does something amazing. You go, where'd that come from? Whereas Latrell's doing that pass every game. Turbo's doing that stuff every freaking game. So I get your point. I actually don't really disagree with it. It's easy for us to sit there and go, just give the ball to fucking Critter. Why didn't you, we watched the Canberra game. Critter's getting no ball. No platform, though. Second half, we have a couple of good sets. I think we actually stuffed up early in that second half straight up. But from that point, Toby's like cutting players out to get the ball straight to Critter. And bang, 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 bang. And then it just went from there. But I just think, as I said, and I've said this a lot in the last couple of weeks, the fact that he doesn't do everything makes our team a lot better. And it means that he is just like this booster button, this enhancement we get when we need it, when the big moment arises. But it's funny because I actually went and watched the highlights of the semi-final again last night. I couldn't sleep. And I was watching Critter in that game. Like, he was a passenger. Absolute passenger in that game. Couldn't do jack. And his defensive stuff was out of kilter. I felt like his capability to get things done in 90% of the tries that we let in, he failed. People, not one word has been ever spoken about it. Everyone's capable of having a bad day. Some people are out there for their influence, but they're just absolutely busted and done. And you wouldn't know about it most of the time because they're not going to make excuses, I'll tell you. But when you see a performance where they make 40 metres like King, 80 metres like Kiraz, there's something wrong. You know there's something wrong. And that connects so much to everything we do. It's no excuse. That's just why we got beaten by 20 points. Okay? Sometimes it can be mitigated. You can have really great performances from others to cover it. But that wasn't happening either. And look, even if we had the best performances from those guys, I still think that game's going down to the wire because I felt the Roosters are a genuine threat. They just lack consistency and have done for a long time. Tracy is statistically a top 5 fullback this year. Wouldn't move Critter from centre, but I would give him more ball. Yeah, well, I think they've just got to do what feels right at the time. And, you know, for me, if you're defending out there and you don't know what Connor and Critter are doing, and then you start, Critter's at fullback, and then they play another way, it messes with your head. The variation we've got because of it is fantastic. Now, this is just stuff we're going to continually build. And I think they're not just going to sit there and go out there, okay, we've got Mitchell Woods, we've got Lachlan Galvin, and they're all in each position, and this is how it does. This coach has been watching not just rugby league, he's been watching other fucking coaches across the world who have changed things, who've understood rule changes that have come in and how that will impact things. And it's not just him, Gus, people around them. You know, where there's games where it's, you know, not just your forwards and your backs and your mids. You got a whole team that can play anywhere. And I sort of see that in Canterbury. There's just so much variation in what they can do. Now, in some games, just having your straight up props and your straight up second rows and your straight up halves, and you do everything the way you got to do it, you're going to dominate. You can win 50-0, right? But it doesn't always work out that way. And I think the Canterbury coach has a lot of stuff going on that we just don't find out for quite a while. And that's why I was making comment on Valerio, because he can see the patterns and what the coach has been doing. So rather sitting there and getting outraged every Tuesday, knowing that, you know, 80% of the time there's a change an hour before the game or the day before, 24-hour team list, it still gets me, it makes me laugh. The outrage at the team list every Tuesday, like that's the be all and end all. If I was playing Super Coach, I'd be outraged because I'd be like, well, who's going to play? Because that'd be frustrating. Qatar is equally as good in the air as Coates. Oh, he's very good, yeah. He's not equally as good. Different. He's not getting the same balls. He can't leap from the same, you know, trajectory. He can jump high, yeah, and he's strong and he's tough and he gets the ball, no doubt. Him and Nanai are very good at that. Probably two of the best. I'd say Qatar is the best in that role. Just from him. Zach Lomax, is really good, sort of closer infield. But for that aerial stuff on the wing, where they land the ball and where they're leaping from, that's just second level shit. And they've obviously done a lot of work with the AFL teams down there. And this is what the Dogs need to do that. We need to start doing that. It's just a string to your bow. Just to be able to do that. They don't have to be as tall as Xavier Coates or as powerful or whatever they can be, but they need to be able to rise and climb, jump up on the shoulders up there, Kazali. Tracy rarely ever makes line breaks at fullback. I feel like Critter would, and Critter is more of the footy IQ when he plays, moves the ball around, and set up, tries this. Yeah, well, I've watched Critter play the fullback role a fair bit at Penrith, and he just was focused on the work and doing the role. Yeah, he could. And look, to be honest, it makes sense from a salary cap point of view that Critter transitions there at some point. But from the way the game is, the smaller guys are better suited to that yardage game. And Critter just hasn't demonstrated a player that's getting huge meters at the Bulldogs. He just hasn't been doing it. It hasn't been his role. So I'm not sure if it's a physical limitation due to injuries, which I've assumed most of the time. They keep it under wraps pretty well, or is it something that will eventually happen? I'm not sure. But look, we saw it against the Warriors. I thought the try he got was fantastic, but at the same time, the defence was shocking. And he set that up. He just didn't do it after one play. He turned it inside 4 or 5 times on that left edge before he took a go at him, with the double dummy and barge. So, yeah, it's or the double show and go, I should say. It's easy for us just to go, okay, that translates into he should be the fullback now. I don't see it that way. I think we just keep the variation there for when we need it, is what I think will happen. And then if they're forced to go in that direction and it's something they can train for and it's a physical possibility, I'm sure it may happen. But if it was me in one of these scenarios, I'm getting Cade Dykes into that fullback role, and I'm getting Mitch Woods doing lots of running, doing scrimmages for New South Wales Cup, whatever else, running the ball out and shit. Because I just think that he's got all the skills. And by the time Burton wants to move on or move into a different role or whatever, or Galvin, then Woods starts to come through as the number 6. I think Woods is more of a 6 than a 7, but the club will probably tell me I wouldn't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I just think he's a runner. But that's where the 7's moving. So it's neither here nor there, but you can see his little chip behind the other week was brilliant against Manly in New South Wales Cup. He's got it all. Okay. Yeah, Adam Fanor, Blake Damo. Just going to get through these, not really answer them all, but just acknowledge them. Tracy good defensively and has very good return the ball meters. He does. Critter lacks speed, so does Critter. Salmon plays too big a role in defence to be dropped. Mahoney is our only backup hooker. Hayward doesn't play 80 there. Man needs to be kept at lock. Hard to see either left out. Yeah, Valerio. So, look, I don't disagree at all. So my only thought was if they go in another direction where they say, hey, someone gets in there and defends in the middle, we're going to run a rotation differently to the way that we have. Which I don't think will happen, but that's me just thinking about if they were to change something, that might be where they go. But you've got to have a backup. Now, look, a lot of people would say it makes more sense for Mahoney to start and play 25 at the start than at the end. And I don't disagree with anyone who says that either. I probably agree with them. But understanding what the club needs and the development they need to get into Bailey, it's perfect to let him take that ferocity. I know we want to win and we want to secure these spots. And, if we don't and it comes down to something like that, well, I don't think it does. I don't think a massive strategy change in these areas is the difference between winning and losing. I think that it can, or maybe it could be, I don't know, a little bit on the fence with that. Pappenhausen up for grabs. He is a Bulldogs fan. Yeah. I had someone who reckons they're related to him tell me that he's just bought a house in Melbourne. Oh, g'day, sweetheart. It's my missus saying hello. Very nice. Critter does not need to be fast. We just need fast outside backs to get the ball. All we need is more line breaks. Bit of speed always helps, brother. Yeah, I agree. Critter actually sets up a lot of our tries as well. He certainly does, which is why our right edge is outscored the left. And he's actually been helping the left a fair bit in his fullback capacity. You're 6'3", like Galvin, and I know how long it takes to fill out. But once he fills out, he'll be honestly similar to Yo. Yeah, most likely. Most likely, man. Pinching pennies. How are we? We're good pinching pennies. Believe it or not, but one guy can literally carry a whole team to the grand final. We saw it with Benji Marshall or Jared Hayne. Yeah. Look, I would suggest those players scored some pretty good tries, more so Hayne than Benji. Benji was definitely an important cog in that side, but they had so many important cogs. Parramatta, some of the tries that Hayne scored shouldn't have been scored. And that's where I could say, yeah, he took them. Look, if Jared Hayne doesn't play against us in the prelim, they don't win. They don't make the grand final. But when a team plays another team, even if it's over the cap, and they're relying on an individual, those individuals don't usually get them winning a comp too often. Whereas Benji, I felt, was a really good player and a really switched on, exciting, young, aggressive, and fearless team. Probably one of the best seasons I've seen, actually, the West Tigers 2005. G'day, Mariana. Up the Dogs. Do you think they'll win? I think they're going to win tonight. But the main part, I just want to see a good performance. If we're going to lose, Melbourne has to outplay us and defeat us. And there can't be any excuses for illness or anything like that. Because that would just make a mockery of the coach. G'day, Mike. Go the Dogs. Can't wait to watch Panthers lose and Dogs dominate. Well, that'd be good. Maybe a Panthers domination of Canberra would, and if we win, might work against the Panthers. I don't know. Or it could go the other way. They doubt themselves. But, they love it out at Mudgee there. Do I think Marcello Montoya have a good game today? I hope he does. I think it's we've got to be a little bit, holding expectations will be that he goes out and does his job. I'm not expecting him to do much more than that. I'd expect to say that he needs this game and he's going to need the next two games by semi-final time. Like he's an experienced campaigner now. Like he's not going to lose confidence. He'll go out there and know that he's got his reps up, got his fitness back. And I expect by finals, he's going to be important to us and we'll do a good job. G'day, Joby. I'm having a good day, mate. Hope you're having a good day, brother. Glad you finished work. Been doing too much work, brother. You're not odd. We need to bully the Storms. Bulldogs for life. That's it, brother. G'day, Dave. I'm forming you think Curran drops out for Stilly, but on impact, it's probably Hughes who drops out. Yeah. It all depends what they're going with. And that's a really good point, because if they're worried about, if they're only going to say, Sitili doesn't play more than 30 minutes, they may say Curran needs to play 50, 55 or something, So you're only going to get 40 out of Hughes at the moment. But he's played 37 and then 40 last week in tough. And that 40 wasn't running downhill 40 minutes. That was in the tough, that was tough minutes. That was his forward pack, his back three were doing nothing around him. And he played 40. Like, he did a good job, Sam. And I think for that reason, he retains his spot. And the coach goes in that direction and replaces Curran. But if they give Hayes a rest, I don't mind that either, because Hayes has actually been up the longest, whereas Curran sort of had those suspensions and stuff. So Hayes probably needs a break. Not that he would probably think that, and he may not, but if I was looking at who's been up the most, he's been up quite a bit, playing above and beyond. Great effort predicted today. G'day, Elaine. Hope you are well, and thank you. Good to hear from you. I can see in the last 3 weeks, Penrith Dog Storm will win one, lose one as mental fatigue sets in, then a new comp begins 100%. Hey, Luke, I think Critter should attack from fullback, defend from centre. Probably what's going to happen. It seemed to happen last week. What about Critter goal kicking? Pretty good. Yeah, doing good, about 84% or something. On another note, Johns and Fittler hate the Dogs so much and have since I can remember. I hate how much they put the Dogs down. I love it, T-Arm. Don't you worry about it, brother. We just laugh at them. Like Johns, like, if you listen to his tips, you would have lost your house by now. Our centres firing together with Burton would create a significant advantage over the Melbourne. G'day, JS. Dogs get the most hate out of all teams, even though they have not won since 2004. And that's because, look, Australia is a country that's full of varied opinions and diversity, but some people aren't aware of that. And look, mainstream media, and just a team that, you know, it's funny because I was saying it before, I was saying it the other day, that, and someone echoed this in one of the commentators, is that the Bulldogs used to win, and they wouldn't be the best team, but they'd work the hardest. They had the best culture to win, but they weren't the best team or the best individuals. You know, and that's seen in a lot of our in 2004. Luke Patton never played Origin. Sherwin never played Origin. You know what I mean? Corey Hughes and Adam Perry, no one's considering them. Ben Harris, who's he? You know, we had Lester, who's he? All these players that come from obscurity. Robert Ralphs, you know, just no names for most fans and for most teams. But they were important cogs to our success across many eras. I think the 80s is a bit different. Like, everyone knew the Bulldogs. But from the 90s and beyond, we've got there through a lot of juniors back in the day, and a lot of workers and role players. And I think that's where we're getting our DNA back, is that we're getting the role players again, the ones that just do their job. And for us fans, it's us fans get to know these players and see them as stars, but the outsiders look at them and go, who the fuck's that? You know? And that's why we're underestimated. It's why we're criticised. It's why they're always waiting for us to fail. But fuck them. But we're going to finish in a second, so I'm going to do a little wrap-up of the keys to victory, and then I'll be out of here, guys, because I've got stuff to do. Yeah, Damo, 100%. Who's this? Yeah, Jay, don't call people flops here, bro. Understand? T loves the Bulldogs, just like you do. Only I call people flops or idiots, because I'm the dictator in this little place. Not afraid to say it. Let's not talk about that stuff, all right? What do I do there? I'll remove that one. Okay. So the keys to victory in this match, what are they? Look, the Bulldogs need to throw some stuff at Melbourne. I think Melbourne will play a bit of football as well. It'll be set for set early, but expect them to come up with some of those offloads and play some of that rugby league they're going to need to play in order to dominate teams. They'll be looking for a complete 80-minute performance yet again, and they've got some combinations forming with players that have come in, like Pezet and the like. So if we're going to beat them, we're going to have to control this game, and through that, it's through our defence. It's not being spooked if they actually do throw a little bit at us or start to look like they're on top with the forward battle or making more meters than us or whatever it is. It's about just continuing to go and continuing to do what we do well. And, if I see it as a compliment to us, if they start to throw some balls out wide and try some things and push some passes and whatever. Now, a lot of the time that breaks down. Sometimes it sticks and they might make a line break and score. It's just important for the Dogs, whatever happens, that they keep their composure and stick to the process and don't start trying to win the game from every play. Don't start trying to think that it's just going to happen if they are in control. They have to go back to, we earn every point we get. We're desperate to stop every point that's coming against us, and we make it happen. It doesn't just happen. And if that means taking the two early when we're in good attacking position, if that means doing what we did against the Warriors in that capacity, so be it. As far as defensively stopping those kicks, I don't have much. It's going to come down to how we control that ruck, whether the ref's going to let things go or whether he's going to make it stop-start or not. That's going to have a huge indication there. The stop-start allows them to get them sort of plays on a little bit easier, and will suit Melbourne more than it'll suit us. We want to keep the ball in play. But as we saw last week, Penrith dominated the Storm stats-wise, kept the ball in play, looked like they had them beaten. Storm took a few opportunities and whatever else, played to their strengths. When they got their opportunities, they executed with Coates and the like and their kicks. But for the most part, they were just gritty. And in fact, it was like one of those when people talked about they won on their culture. They won on their discipline and playing an 80-minute game and happy to win it over 80 minutes. Yeah, and Harry Grant fucking absolutely milked that and shouldn't have been rewarded for it. So they're the things that I expect to see happen. The Dogs are going to go out there, do what they do well in their normal game, but I expect that there will be something different tonight. I think we will attack their left edge. We'll want to dominate that big time. They'll be trying to counter that with really solid contact, which is why they probably go with Tyrone Wishart early on that side. But I wouldn't mind it if it was Pezet, and I'd like to end Viliame Kikau, putting pressure on a player like that can work in our advantage. But they'll be pretty much ready for whatever we're going to do as far as our normal game plan goes, because it's pretty transparent. It's all the small things. It's all the work hard. It's all the cliche stuff. But yeah, I expect to see Kiraz, for example, really hit back hard this week. He'll be very important to us. I want to see Bronson Cherry was our hardest runner last week, and I felt he asked questions every time he got the ball. Galvin and him were linking well, running onto the footy. So there's lots I expect to happen. But for us to win this match, it's not about so much as limiting Xavier Coates. It's making sure Melbourne don't get down that end of the field too often. That's having our discipline there, having our line speed, and making sure that we're able to control that ruck. And that, is always easier said than done, but it's key to us winning this match. So it's about keeping the opposition attack moving when when you get them. So we've got to catch them, make sure they don't offload, and keep that momentum moving back the other way. Catch, drive back, catch, drive back. But if there's slow play the balls, and that's allowed to happen, and it's stop start, we've got to make sure that we get the ball out wide early. I think early ball will be good, and get our runners one-on-one with players and tiring them out that way. I think that's important as well. And Penrith did that quite well, I felt. They gave their players opportunities to do that with space. And Melbourne's compressed sort of defence really sort of got exposed, but they were gritty and held on to a lot of it. They stopped a lot of the tries. They competed and scrambled well. But I still think that's the way to go. And I'd be looking at a lot of short kicks, doing a lot of kicks, and get that back in our game somehow, where we're really challenging their thought process on what we're going to do. And I hope that's a part of the game. You know, I just saw us score so many tries from kicks last year, plenty the year before as well. Since Burton come into the side, not seeing as much of that this year. So that's got to be a string. That's got to be a play that we can utilise, that we know that we can execute. Okay. So yeah, there we go. G'day, D. Welcome. Very confident today that regardless of the result, we'll prove the doubters wrong that think we've fallen off a cliff. Me too, brother. No fear. No fear. We lose, we're not good enough. Oh, reset. No precedent defines anything in the future as far as rugby league goes. Unless players get injured and they can't play and whatever. Obviously, it's nicer for us. It's more comfortable. It's good to get the noise to go away, but they can lose 3 on the trot and come back and win a grand final. It's done. Been done before, and it'll be done again. Are you worried about potentially dropping to 5th, mate? Round 27, Cronulla will be a doozy. Fight for the top 4. G'day, Grace. Welcome. I'm not really worried about that. Obviously, from a Canterbury club point of view, the loss of revenue that they get, because if they get 3rd or 4th, you know, they get to play and they win, they get to play a prelim at a core. Now, if they lose that first game, they get a prelim, not a prelim, the next week at a core. So that they'd be wanting to finish in top 2 is good from the point of view that you can get almost guaranteed 2 games at a core. Well, you do. You guarantee it. But finishing 5th, yeah, like, and we might have to play the Broncos or the Roosters or the Sharks again if we lose and they make 8th. Could be anything like that. And it'll be a challenge. It'll be all or nothing. It'll be sudden death. There'll be no second chances. And that's what we need. Embrace it. Don't finish 5th, but if we do, okay, we're there. That's what we do. Let's go. Let's win this thing. If we lose, we just weren't good enough. Hopefully it won't be taken away from us like it was last year. Starting and Mahoney. So Man never starts unless Salmon's not playing. So Man does his work off the bench for 30, 40 minutes, flat out, and he's huge for us in that part of the game. Starting, Salmon does that defensive work, and Salmon organises a lot of stuff that gets us through that first part, takes a lot of sting, and then Man comes on and gets busy and brings the energy. And it's worked well for us. Yeah, Mahoney, they decided because he wanted to leave when we weren't going to extend him, it's thrown a lot of our stuff a lot of our plans into turmoil. So it's basically been a case of we need to get Bailey Hayward up to speed for our future ASAP. And Bailey brings other stuff to the table, which the club and the team think can help them win. And doesn't mean we will win because of it, but doesn't mean we lose because of it. I like Mahoney. I think he should start and then bring Hayward on, but that's just me. I back what the coach and that do. If they believe Hayward should start, he starts. An open voice call. Oh, I can bring people on at different times, but yeah, I generally build connections with people first. So not everyone gets on. Boys will be pumped. They sure will. I think man coming on from the bench is a similar reason why James Graham started every game off the bench in 2012, despite being the best front rower in the team. Very well said, D. What's best for the team? 100%. So there we go, people. It's all about, I think, get early ball out to our edges, utilise those players, get them one-on-one with the Storm, have them making those tackles on their own, especially their weak links, and trying to generate speed out of that from the play the balls, turn them around, put them in the corner, and continually keeping them in their end. But that could change. Like that sort of thing could change depending on what's happening in the game. I think the Storm will try and play it a lot through the middle like they have been, turning it in both sides and just one after one after one. The Bulldogs do that a lot as well. We tend to bring our edges back in quite a fair bit and get those middles worked overtime and then utilise speed to open things up. And they've got players with a lot of speed like Pappenhausen who can really take advantage of that space that's created through tiring forwards in the middle, which is why they do it. And we've got to do that as well. But I do think getting some early ball out wide and enforcing one-on-one contests can open the game up for us and allow us to, get some things happening. And I'm hoping to see a lot of that as the game goes on. But we will see. Predictions, I'm predicting the Panthers by 4 points. And I'm just hoping whoever wins loses, hope Cleary gets injured. I hope, Leota gets injured. Yo gets injured. KO Weeks gets injured. Xavier Savage gets injured. I hope the whole team gets injured. But yeah, no, we've got to beat the best to be the best. And that's it. That'd be good. Dogs versus Melbourne prediction. Bulldogs 24. Melbourne Storm 8. Honestly, I've just come up with that. I have no idea. But it's time to go, people. Thanks for joining. Hopefully you got something out of that in the little prediction there. It's probably going to be the normal patterns. Curran or Hayes drops out for Sitili if he is playing. I've given you some other options to think about. If King's not right, if Hughes, if they decide to go that other way and play what they normally do, is dropping the big fella Hughes. But and then there's if they're actually changing sort of tact on how they're going to go about, if they're enacting another plan on to take them into the finals where they don't carry the two little fellas and only carry one. We could see Mahoney come out, but I really don't think that'll happen. Mike says Dogs 22-16. Valerio says, I have this feeling that if we make the grand final, we'll win it. I hope we get there. I hope we do too, brother. And I know you'll be there to watch. Hoping the game gets named the Battle of Mudgee. Lots of suspensions. We're due for a grand final of win. You don't usually do these before the games. Haha. Nah, pinch and pennies. We don't talk about dropping players, okay? We don't do that here. It's not what we do. People do it, but I don't do that. I don't say tell the coach what he should do. Whatever the coach picks, it means it's the best for the team and the club. Salmon is a good player for us, and he does his job. Will he be in our side in a couple of years? Don't know. But he's an important part to that team, and that's why he keeps getting picked, and that's why the players love him and want him in that side. So I'll back the team, his teammates, and I'll back the coach. But if he gets dropped, he gets dropped. That means that they think there's someone better or someone else can help us win. But not every player is supposed to look like an absolute superstar when they're out there. Would be nice, but it's just not the way the Bulldogs get things done. Dogs 52-14. Oh, far out. Imagine that. Oh, the Bulldogs are the real deal. See, I told you I trusted Cameron Ciraldo. And you have to say he made the right choice, bro. G'day, JB. Our forward's too small. Nah. J-Boy, have you been coming to watch this podcast? You'll know that's all a fallacy. It's just a headline. I was going to say something political then, but I won't. It's like youth crime. Sounds cool. I feel more confident about today than last week, but I'm still nervous. But I will say, J-Boy, we're developing players that can play longer minutes, that are obviously more physical and more aggressive. There's just not enough of them in the competition that can go the distance. So, and I'd say Sam Hughes at 109 kilos. Willie Army kick out 116. I don't think they're really that small, to be honest. I think they're pretty big. So there you go. But thanks for coming on and saying hello. Possession and turning teams around are more important than size. That's it. Your whole possession, they can't win. And we lead the comp for possession. Okay? But games we've lost, the possession's been really bad against us. But that's because we haven't given up and we've tried to win. You know, they haven't just played conservatively and played the game out. We actually try and win every game, which is an expectation, of course, but that's the reality. We play catch up footy. We try to get back into it. And there's been a couple of those games where it's been on edge there, you know, like I go back to Brisbane, we smash them in that second half. We start scoring tries, and then with 8 minutes to go, they're thinking, we can win this. We can score 2 more tries here and get ahead. They were just too tired in those conditions. 20-14 would have been if Turpin scores against the Dolphins. We think we can win. Even the Roosters, Burton gets that 17 minutes to go. I was like, oh, I don't think we're going to win. And I never thought we were going to win at any stage in that match. From the 14th minute mark, I should say. Yeah, for the most part, we give ourselves a chance. But if you treat the ball like you don't respect that footy, you don't win. Simple as that. When our team does it, we not only win the meters game, we restrict the most amount of meters. We averaged over 200 meters more than our opposition. And when we've won the meters, we've won 14 or 15. I think the only one we lost where we won the meters was potentially against the Panthers, which we should have won. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit more confident too. Isn't it funny? Hello, everyone, and all the new people that come on and said hello. Sorry if I upset you or anything, but that's just the way it is. I will see you all tonight. I'll go live. If we win by 50, I'm going live. If we lose by 40, I'll probably go live. Hopefully not for the latter. All right, talk to you soon, everyone. Go the Dogs. Go the Dogs. And, yeah, New South Wales Cup, all that. Watch all that. I didn't look at any of that stuff, but Get behind the boys. You can get out there, do a game, go watch them. See everyone. Oh, no, the smartest team is the team that the coach puts out on the field. 100% telling you that right now. But he can still make mistakes. But for the most part, you're going to get it right. Go the Dogs.